Twitch streamer Asmongold asked a very interesting question: whether or not people under the age of 18 should be able to make accounts on social media. What are the positives and what are the negatives? Now, what's interesting is that when my generation grew up, social media had almost no content censorship. I mean, you could watch gore videos, you could watch the most disturbing sexual material you wanted, and no one knew about it because most parents didn't even understood the internet. It was viewed almost like a toy. And yet, look how I end up growing up as. Like, with all of that negativity, look at me now. But all jokes aside, I do believe that social media is more harmful than positive for teenagers. For various reasons. Like, number one, you can say an edgy joke. Because you're a teenager. I mean, teenagers do the craziest things. I remember when I was a kid, I would even break windows and stuff. So, I wasn't the most model citizen. And you can say an edgy joke online, and that can actually prevent you from getting into a university. There have been cases where straight A students weren't allowed into a university because they looked at their Twitter profile and they were following Alex Jones. So many people do not understand that social media is becoming like official court records now. Like, you can be prevented from having a good life because other people who are competing with you are going to try and ruin your reputation based on things that you have posted years ago. Another case came into mind where a girl posted a rap lyric on TikTok, and because rap is the most dangerous music on earth by saying slurs, she was exposed for having said that, and yet again, she didn't manage to get into university, right? So that is one of the most dangerous aspects of social media. Like, you can be an edgy teenager, you can say something, bam. Another problem is with teenage girls. My grandmother managed to survive on planet Earth without sending naked pictures of herself. Probably your grandmother as well. But I understand it is a human right nowadays for women to be able to sell naked pictures of themselves to their boyfriends or other strangers. The problem is that eventually those pictures can come back to haunt them. And while I do understand that there are laws against revenge porn, why even assume the risk? Oh, it's because it's necessary. I understand. It's like food and water. Look, if you're on a deserted island as a teenage girl, the first thing you need to do is to find shelter, then to find food and water, and then to find an ability to send naked pictures of yourself to other people. And look, most of the time, it can even be that the person you're sending those pictures to don't even want to expose them. Like, let's say you send your pictures to a boyfriend, and the boyfriend sells the phone to another person. And the other person finds the pictures and then puts them online. Right? Now, of course, they created a crime. I'm pretty sure they should go to prison and have death sentence for what they did, right? Like, I'm not apologizing that. No, in fact, I think they should be even more punished. However, the pictures will still be out there and the reputation will still be ruined. So that is another reason why social media is harmful for people under the age of 18, right? Because if you're over the age of 18, then at least you know what you're doing. So you can't have freedoms without responsibilities. And then there is this, what I like to consider a non-issue. I know a lot of people enjoy thinking that it's a thing. I mean, to the point where we now have the Trust and Safety Council on all social media, something that didn't exist before. But it has to do with online bullying, right? Like, first of all, in my opinion, real bullying is a lot worse than online bullying. Because, like, you can always turn the computer off, right? Like, and if the bullying happens online, like, let's say your kid who's in a classroom all of a sudden has rumors spread about him online. Well, I'm pretty sure those rumors can exist without the internet. Like, they can happen in real life, right? So, there are certain people who appeared in the news of being subjected to online bullying, and because of that, they either did self-harm or they end up killing themselves, right? So that is a topic that needs to be talked about. But how often does it happen? Like, statistically speaking, how often is it that someone is on the internet and they just can't handle those words on the screen? Like percentage-wise. And secondly, for the people that it does happen, do you honestly think that without the internet, they wouldn't have had issues? Like, they would have had a normal life without the internet? I personally think those people require medical help. I think those people require the trained professional to see what's going on in their lives. Because I think it's a lot more than just going on the internet. Like, if you can't handle being online and being experienced to criticisms, or even bullying, how are you going to experience getting fired for the first time? How are you going to experience the first time one of your parents dies? Like, those things are a lot more emotionally impactful and a lot more real than seeing someone like Skullfuck47 calling you an ugly cow when you can mute and block Skullfuck47. And as I mentioned before, if it's like bullying from your classroom, like your real life friends are spreading rumors and stuff on you online, even if you remove the online, like you prevent them from speaking online, they can still do that in real life. So like the problem isn't necessarily with the computer screen and the keyboard. The problem is a lot more complicated. But people like to throw the issue on the computer screen or the keyboard in order to create the trust and safety councils and in order to justify why some person that's talentless needs to have a job in a position of power at Twitter. So to summarize, there are legit issues to be afraid of your kid using social media that are never being discussed, such as saying an edgy joke or sending naked pictures to strangers online. And then there are other issues that are being overwhelmingly discussed to the point where people think that it happens so often, like online bullying, it happens so often, it's such a danger and harm to society that the corporations and the billionaires need to do something about it. So I think people need to have a little bit of perspectives with the actual dangers versus the fake dangers. You know, like the things that I don't think are being caused by the internet. I think that they're being caused by other reasons, and it's a lot more difficult to explain. But with that out of the way, there are also communities online that are very harmful. I remember one of the worst articles I read on my main channel was with a girl who happened to have very wealthy parents, and her father would pay for her apartment, would pay for her car, and even offered her a job. Now, she joined a communist group, and she was seen burning the American flag. Her father, which was a war veteran, was abhorred by that, but because he believed in free speech, he wanted to just talk with her and have a conversation. Like, sure, you have the right to burn the flag if you want, but like, why do you want to do it? So, of course, the daughter, who was against the cisgender patriarchal society, decided that she would block the father. She would mute him on social media. At which point, the father went, okay then, no more apartment, no more job, no more car. So, immediately she started crying and accusing the father of being abusive and all of that, right? But at the end of the day, like, the internet legitimately made that father lose a child. And it destroyed the relationship, and it destroyed the growth of the child. Like, obviously, she would have ended up growing a lot better if she was in the care of a loving father than in the care of some communist that she probably doesn't even speak with today, right? So, with the help of the internet, she found this particular group, and with the help of the Tumblr culture at the time, she was indoctrinated into this. Surely she could have done the same in real life, but it's a lot more difficult to like find groups in real life that the parents don't know about, because like usually parents at the time were more controlling over the real life aspect over the online aspect. So yes, it like there are certain dangers that many people are even unaware of. So where am I going with this? Well, should people under the age of 18 be banned from social media? I think it's a very tough question. Especially since there are positives of using social media. Like, you can't get around a modern society without the internet. Like, you're not going to be able to find a job without internet. You're not going to be able to have the same advantages as other people without the internet. So I do believe that at least under the age of 12 or maybe 14, all online access should be incredibly supervised, if not restricted completely. So make sure that children under the age of 12 or 14, if they're your kid, just don't have any access to the internet whatsoever. And if they do, just like very light, very monitored access. After the age of 14, they should be able to start using social media, but also under parental supervision. Just being allowed to have more and more rights and being taught how to use it responsibly. And it depends from parent to parent, child to child. But I definitely think this is the best compromise. Because again, if you're going to restrict everything, then the moment that they're going to be allowed to use it, they're going to do all the excesses that they haven't done when they grew up. And take into account that when you have an excess when you're a kid, it's more understandable, like society understands. It's like, oh, look, it's just a child, you know, come on. It doesn't going to hurt you that much. But when you have an excess as an adult, it's a lot more difficult to explain. And I gave this example with drinking. Like in the United States, people can't drink under the age of 21. In Europe, there are some places where kids drink with the supervision of their parents from the age of 14. Now, what is the difference between getting wasted as a teenager and getting wasted as an adult? Well, if you're a teenager and you're like 18 and you come home wasted, your parents are going to give you an argument, you're going to get into trouble, you're going to understand never to do that again. But if you're an adult and you get wasted and you're late for work, you make an ass of yourself among other business colleagues, your life can be in ruins. You're going to actually have a lot more repercussions than if you actually learned how to control yourself as a teenager. So in a way, learning from mistakes is part of the human experience. Like, people should be allowed to have some mistakes. And I do believe that if you do allow like some excesses, you do allow a little bit of it, it's going to be a lot better than allowing it all of it at the same time. Let me know what you guys think though, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.